Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Egbetokun condemns recent cases of alleged extortion by police officers. Plus on the news, leadership of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian University urges federal government to honor agreement reached with worker unions for industrial peace in a democracy. And from the international scene, thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate from a wildfire northwest of Los Angeles as fierce seasonal winds blew flames into ranches and neighborhoods. Details of these and more coming your way soon. Do stay with us. Many thanks for joining us at the start. Now, details of the news. Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Egbetokun has condemned recent cases of alleged extortion by police officer, notably involving ASP Emmanuel Ubong, Inspector Nseo Code, Inspector Adiwere Collins, and Inspector Kuromari Marin of Zone 16 headquarters in Yenagoa. These officers reportedly extorted 10 million naira from a group of young Nigerians. In a statement released by FPRO ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the IGP assured the public that all allegations of extortion or abuse will be thoroughly investigated, and any officer found guilty will face severe consequences regardless of rank to uphold the integrity of the force. The statement disclosed that the fund have been Assistant Inspector General of Police for Zone 16, and the officers are currently detained and facing an orderly room trial. It added that under IGP Egbetokun's leadership, the Nigerian police force maintains a zero tolerance
The Inspector General of Police of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, PhD NPM, has condemned the alleged extortions by some officers of the force in some areas within the country, most especially the Eastern case involving the officers of the Zone 16 Zonal Headquarters, Yenagoa, who have been identified as ASP Emmanuel Ebong, Inspector Nseo Okon, Inspector Adiwere Collins, and Inspector Kuromari Marin. The officers were alleged of extorting a sum of 10 million naira from a group of young Nigerians.
and other stories. Today's Minority Caucus has called for compensation for minors arrested for allegedly participating in the anger protests that took place in major cities across the country. On 1st October, some Nigerians took to the street to protest hardship exhibited by the removal of few subsidies by President Bola Tinubu's administration in 2023. Last week, images of children arrested in connection with the protests sparked local and international condemnation, with many accusing government officials of starving them while they were in custody. In a statement issued on Friday, signed by Kingsley Chinda, Ali Isa, Aliyu Madaki, and George Uzodinobi, Minority Leader, Minority Whip, Deputy Minority Leader, and Deputy Minority Whip of the House of Representatives, respectively, the caucus called for an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the arrest and alleged ill treatment of the protesters. The caucus also commended President Bola Tinubu for ordering the immediate release of the minors who were charged with terrorism, treason, and arson by the Nigeria Police Force. Leadership of Senior Staff Association of Universities has urged the federal government to honor agreement reached with Workers' Union for industrial peace in a democracy. The national president of the association, Comrade Muhammad Arina Ibrahim, made the appeal in Abuja while speaking with journalists ahead of the third quadrennial National Delegates Conference of the Union. Correspondent Kunle Ojo reports that Comrade Ibrahim stated that the integrity of such agreement is essential for ensuring the welfare and dignity of members, adding that this will also ensure the sustainability and advancement of academic institutions. He added the government at the center must be ready to honor its words, especially now the stability in the education sector is crucial. Comrade Ibrahim added that the third quadrennial delegates conference would not only bring in the new executive for the association, but will also address key ongoing issues that remains in active discussions with federal government. These include the standard 3 months without salaries, the 50 billion naira and allowances, arrears of 35% increment, the abolition of IPPIS in tertiary institutions. The Nigerian military recently disclosed of an emergent terrorist organization in northwestern Nigeria, and now we are joined by Commodore Omaseye Nisiama, retired. He is a retired Navy Commodore as well as a renowned security expert who joins us live from Warri. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Galaxy TV News.
Good morning. Good evening.
All right, so the defensive quarters confirmed the emergence of new terrorist group known as Lukawaras in the northwestern part of the country. How do you react to this development, taking into consideration the security challenges presently bedeviling the country?
Well, I'm fortunate that we are finding ourselves in this situation once again. It's very unfortunate to see that we're yet multiplying the number of terrorist groups occupying different parts or operating in different parts of Nigeria. This Lukawaras group sprang up from nowhere, but from my little investigation, they are linked to the ISIS in the Sahel region, which was, of course, a breakaway faction from Al-Qaeda. Their ideology, if one is to draw it from that of the ISIS that's operating in the Sahel region, is such that it is not much different from what we find in Al-Qaeda, apart from the fact that they are dissidents. They just decided, for want of having their own leadership and control, since they have a vast area that is literally unpoliced, is literally on very difficult terrain to actually control, and that is the Sahel region. A lot of things give them the opportunity to derive the freedom to operate in that very difficult terrain. So that is where this particular terrorist group, the Lukawaras, are emanating from, and it is very unfortunate that it has come into Nigeria, but it's not something that was not we're already getting information about the likelihood of ISIL in the Sahel coming into Nigeria even before now. But that it has come in now and is confirmed by the defense authorities is a very worrisome development, and we taking it from what we are already facing in the country, the security challenges in the country, the military authorities and the security agencies have a lot on their hands to deal with. And it will require now a clear distraction from the existing ones, the banditry in the northwest and other areas that we have been containing so far. With this new development, it will now create another distraction that will involve the relocation of resources, both financial and personnel. And with the country that is currently facing very serious economic hardship, we are in for a very difficult time.
Okay, all right. So some have said that the porous borders in the northern part of the country seems to be the major cause of the infiltration of terror groups from the Republic of Niger. So what in your opinion should be done to check this menace of the porous border?
People have said this many times, the porous nature of our borders. I don't want to waste too much time about that. The issue about the change of government in Niger has no doubt created the lacuna that this current body is lashing on. And unfortunately, we have this cross-border relationship that has gone on forever. We all know that the dividing or partitioning of Africa was based on just paper, not concentrating. So that cross-border fertilization and relationship actually makes us feel that our borders are just artificial. The truth is that when you go up north, before you move from Nigeria into Niger, you may not even know. So people intermarry, people having relationships across, and that is what actually gave room to this particular laborious organization to gain entrance into Nigeria, because people felt that they were just innocent people that they accommodated, but they didn't know that they were coming in to gather intelligence. And when they got what they wanted, they now decided to manifest themselves in their true nature. Now, coming to what we are supposed to do, we can, apart from the normal physical policing, we might be thinking of creating virtual geofencing. There are strategies for that, using combination of underground sensors combined with security cameras and maybe some intrusion devices, microwave intrusion devices. If we have this combination, when people approach the areas that you have geofenced, it will trigger alarms, and the security agencies can quickly know that there's likely to be illegal entry, and they will take necessary action to address or mitigate that situation. So we must start thinking about the use of technology beyond the physical positioning of people. And the truth is that we can never really, with the strength of our security personnel in the country, we can't police our borders effectively without the use of technology in addition.
And that's Commodore Marshal Yemi Siame, retired. He's a retired Navy Commodore as well as a renowned security expert. And now moving on to our other guests, we have Dennis Amature, a security consultant. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Galaxy TV News. Okay, all right, if you can hear me, the Defense Headquarters has confirmed the emergence of a new terrorist group known as Lukewaras, Wasa, in the northwestern part of the country. What do you think could have been responsible for this latest development?
Thank you very much for inviting me. You see, this new terrorist group that has been found in the northern part of the country is basically, there are certain factors that must have caused it. One of the major factors is our relationship, our military relationship with Niger Republic. When the Niger Republic had the coup and they want to break away from ECOWAS, and of course, when we wanted to attack them, a lot of us came out to say, no, that is a wrong move. And then, of course, that idea was dropped. But when you look at it, most of the military joint task force that has been operating between Nigeria and Niger has been able to, deter some of these things from happening. Because we come to find out that when you look at the background or the profile of the Lakuwuras, they are Tuaregs, from the desert, from the Sahel, who came from Mali and then, of course, Niger into Nigeria. And that leads to what the Commodore was saying about our porous borders. The borders have been very, very porous. Arms and ammunition have been moving in and out without any check. So for that particular area, we don't expect much, because even ISIS or ISWAP have moved in through that same porous borders, and we've not done anything about it. And if you look at it, there are other things. They came in there, infiltrated into the communities. They had a lot of money. They came under the guise of religion. And then, of course, they were spending a lot of money. And now these monies that they've been spending, of course, can be traced back to the solid minerals that exist in that area. So you find out that these monies have been there to spend, and then, of course, convince the people. When government, our own government, has allowed these, should I call them, ungoverned spaces, they occupy it, and then, of course, try to give money to the localities, and at the same time trying to talk to them about religion, and then, of course, you find out that they will occupy the place. But I'm happy for one thing. The military has been able to identify, the security agencies are working together to identify them, and then, of course, isolate them to 2 states. And we need to work on that right now so that we can nip it in the bud. Because if we allow it, it will just be like Boko Haram, start to spread, across those 2 states.
You're right. So the French spokesman stated that the new terror group originated in the Republic of Niger after the recent coup, which disrupted military cooperation between Algeria and Niger. So what should have been done to avoid the incursion? Because you said we need to nip this in the bud so that we don't have another Boko Haram type of crisis at hand. What do you recommend should be done?
There are some fundamental issues, underlying issues around that border area. Why should a terrorist group find a foothold in our country? Number one would be the environment, the level of poverty, and then, of course, again, you find out that people are unemployed, lack of education, so they don't have the opportunity to have a better job. So we have been trying to solve this problem, in Nigeria. We've been trying to solve it. How do we either provide education for these people so that they can have a meaningful means of, livelihood? And education does not necessarily have to be a lawyer or doctor or anything. Even in farming, they can be, educated in farming so that they can do better farming, more productive farming, instead of the one that they could just plant and eat, and then, of course, sell the extra. So we would want to make them to learn more. And then, of course, there should be other non-kinetic issues whereby it's not just a military thing, where the natives there will come to see the Nigerian military as friends. We have to talk to them. We have to educate them. We have to show presence, because sometimes some of these local governments are so far-flung in such a way that they don't even think that there is a government. And when these terrorists come around and start to even tax them to pay money before they go to their farm, they see those terrorists as the government. So these are the things we have to do. These ungoverned spaces must be covered. We have to cover it up. There is a local government there. Why can't the local government show presence? Now, of course, politically, they've asked them to, they are going to have their own funds. So when they have their own funds, we will see what they are going to do with it, because they have to better the lives of the people in that local government. It's not for people to just, pocket the money and disappear, or run down to Sokoto or Abuja without doing something in those local governments. So there is a lot of reformation and restructuring that will take place, for things to get better. Otherwise, these people will have a stronghold. And then, of course, hungry, unemployed youths, those are the people that they can easily recruit. And we have to, stop that. And then, of course, move on.
All right, we thank you so much for sharing with us from the wealth of your experiences. Thank you so much for being part of our news at this time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's Dennis Amachu, a security consultant. Now moving on to other stories. Our group, the Nigerian Coalition of Civil Society Organizations, has called for immediate investigations into alleged sabotage against the plan to turn around the petroleum refineries in the country. This is just as the group demanded the immediate removal from office of the group, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, noting that this management of the oil industry has done more to the local refineries than good. In a protest rally at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja, the Coalition of Civil Society Organizations said policy leaded by NNPCL to reposition the oil sector are merely profit-driven, would obstruct local initiative designed to support energy self-sufficiency and job creation. Addressing journalists at the event, the national spokesperson of the group, Segun Adebayo, asked President Bola Tinubu to caution the NNPCL leadership to avoid policies that could lead Nigeria into further economic crisis. Also speaking, the national coordinator of the group, Benjamin James, called on the authorities to allow the sale of crude to local refineries in Naira. The group also called for the sack of NNPCL's boss, threatening to take the protest to 36 states of the Federation if the demands are not met. Now we move to the international desk for more news. This is news from the international scene. Thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate from a wildfire northwest of Los Angeles as fierce seasonal winds blew flames into ranches and neighborhoods, destroying dozens of homes. The wildfire has destroyed 132 structures in less than 2 days, fire officials said. Firefighters and police cleared residents from neighborhood near Camarillo before homes were set ablaze by ember blown 3.2 kilometers from the fire front, Ventura County Fire Department Captain Tony McHale said. Several civilians were injured and a significant number of homes, businesses and other structures were destroyed, McHale added. Ventura County Fire Department officials said they were throwing resources at the blaze in an area that is home to 30,000 people, but that changing wind patterns meant there was hope that the fire could die down in the coming days. At least 400 homes have been evacuated, Ventura County Sheriff Jim Fryhoff said, adding that 250 residents have chosen to stay behind. The cause of the fire was not immediately known, but meteorologists had raised a red flag warning and a rare particularly dangerous situation PDS warning in the area, indicating dangerous fire conditions. And that's it for now, but do join us at 9 p.m. for our primetime news. My name is Eribami Salako. See you then.